Hi, Ronan here. In this video, I want to show you how to embed a table into an ePortfolio, a blog, or a website in a very easy approach, and also in a way that you can update the table very easily and it'll follow through to your website. So how did I start off, or what was my purpose for going through this? Well, I'm working on developing an ePortfolio, and I want to include a feature that allows me to map different activities to a particular framework over time. So I want a way that I can put a table onto the site, and then one way by which it's very easy to make updates. And my key thing that I wanted to have was a drop-down menu so I could select particular criteria. So I want to show you how I did that, and hopefully that will help. So if we consider a Google spreadsheet, and let's say, for example, we put in here the name of a Google sheet, we'll just put test. So to get one of these, if you have a Gmail account, you have access to a Google Doc suite, and these are online sharing documents. So it's pretty much like Microsoft Excel to an extent. It gives you some of those features, but allows you to share. So let's just say we have, I'll just fill in these, say this could be the description of your activity. And let's just say that you have particular things that you want to map against. We'll call it typology and domain. They're the examples I'm taking from the framework that I want to map to. So you can have particular activities that you're going to list in this first column. We have particular domains we need to fit against, our typologies and domains, and each activity. So for example, you might say, well, I'd like my website to have a bit more, color than you see here. So that's very easy to do in this form. We can easily take a table, we can add a particular color, we can change the font, and it just means that these are the colors that are actually going to be on your website when you go to look at the table. So you might pick something, we'll say just like, I'm just doing this so that you get the idea of what it will look like later on as well, right? So you can see fit, change as you see fit. Now, I mentioned that you might have a description, and instead of having to type out the domain every time, I was very much could I get a drop-down menu? So I want to show you how you can do that. So let's say the typology cells are going to be here. What I'm going to do then is go to data up in the toolbar, and from data, I'm going to go to data validation. So once I click data validation, and now I get this pop-up, and it looks complex, but all I want you to do is change list from arrange to list of items. And then here is where we're going to list the items that we want to have in our drop-down menu. So I've typed these out already, and all you have to do is separate these by a comma. So if we do that, and we come along here, and we paste them in, and we press save, you now see in column B, you've got this arrow that wasn't there before. And when you click it, you can select which ones you want. So let's say description number 1, collaborative, non-accredited. Now there's your particular typology associated with that. The same goes for domain. We can select the cells, repeat the process, go to data validation, go from list of items. And then, as I said, I have them ready typed out. So all I've done is taken the domains from the particular framework that I'm working on, and I've separated them by a comma. Just be careful in case there's a comma in the middle of one of them. You might have to remove that, or else it'll see it as a different aspect. And I hit save, and now I have my particular domains that I can select from. So now I have this table, and it's giving me this option, as I said, of if I have a new description that I want to put in, I can put in my activity description, I can pick my particular typology, and I can pick the domain. So once I have this table populated and I want to get it onto a website, remember there's lots of ways, just in case you say, oh look, it's gone over, there's lots of ways like in Microsoft that you can ask things just to fit into a particular space, and that way if you want the rows to stay a particular height or anything like that, you can easily do. If you're worried about how they look, you can even right click and you can set the resize row, so you can actually specify the height if you wanted it to be a particular height across all the different aspects. If you want to put a particular image in, like just maybe a logo that associates with description 1 or description 2, you might decide to put it in a particular cell. If you pick the cell, insert image, and you can put the image in the cell. So it'll actually fit inside each of these cells on those rows, and it'll carry through to the site. So let's say you've got all this done, and you want to get it onto your website. So on most platforms, let's say I'm using a Weebly platform here, but same applies for Wix or WordPress. You have the option to embed code into different sections. So I really don't know anything about HTML or any code, but I'm just going to show you how simple it is. You drag over that box. So now I have this area that says click to set custom HTML. And I'm going to leave that there for a moment, and I'm going to go back to Google, my Google Sheet. And I have my test sheet. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to ask it to publish it to the web. So publish to the web gives me this option to send links or embed it. So I want to embed it into my website, portfolio, or my blog. So I'm selecting embed, and I don't want the entire document because I've just got one sheet. There's different, like in Excel, you can have tabs or worksheets. I just have one here. So I just want the first sheet to be embedded, and I'm going to hit publish. Am I sure? Yes. And what it does is it produces a code for me, a HTML code. And all I have to do is copy those 4 lines of code, go back over to my web platform, whatever platform you're using, and go into that little box that I created and just enter in the HTML. And that's all I have to do. And press go, publish, and my table will be on my website. So let's say we'll try it now. If I hit publish, it publishes the information, and you can see now I have this little table, and that's the table that's linked to what we had, but it's very small and it's not really fitting maybe the length that I want. So what I'm going to do, the only thing I'm going to add in is I'm going to edit the HTML again. So I bring back up this code, and you have to tell it that you want it to be a particular width and a particular height. So I've just typed out to show you here exactly what I mean. So width equals 100% and height equals, well, let's just say 700 pixels. So that's just how big the table is going to be. And the important thing is when you copy this over to the HTML that you are going to edit this code, just here after the inverted commas and before those kind of greater than, less than symbols, paste in exactly that width equals 100%, space height equals, and then you see the inverted commas around each one. And now we hit publish. And what that's going to do is it's going to fit our table across the page, right? So now our table is embedded into it. Now, if you want it smaller, you don't have to be 700 pixels. You can edit it to 300 in height and so on. So if I bring you back to the Google Sheet that we've had and say we make a few changes, we might decide to bold and maybe center the headings. We might decide that we're going to change the color. So, and then you want to add maybe a third descriptor or a PD activity. So you pick your typology, you pick your domain, and whatever other information you may have. So now you've got kind of an update to the table. So when we make that update in our Google document and we go back to our website, obviously it's still as it was, but once we begin to reload the website, that's where we should see the change actually feed through. So when I press reload, we now see the table, but it's got our bolded font across the top, it's gone green, and it has our third activity. So it's automatically feeding through, and that way it's very easy for you just to keep this sheet up to date, and then everything will feed through in the embedded text that's in your website or blog or ePortfolio. Just some other things to bear in mind. So as I said to you, if you wanted to put in an image in a particular cell, a logo that's corresponding to that activity, go to image and image in cell, and you can pop it into that. If you want to make the row bigger, as I showed, you can just right click on a row and resize the height of the row. If you wanted the logo to be more visible, you can change the height for consistency. And the other thing is if you wanted a link. So for example, if this in your description column, you decide that you want, say, the description could be, say, ePortfolio or development, or it could be a conference maybe that you attended or whatever activity it is, and you want to link that so that it goes off and you can click it to bring it to the right website or web page that has it. Again, you can insert a link, and you can paste in your link here, and that link then will give you a place that people could click to go to it. So you might, instead of 1, 2, 3, you'll have a descriptor there, but it means that they can go and view that, or you have a kind of a library of where that raw data or where that is populated online. Another thing I was asked about was about privacy, and say you didn't want to share this. So what I've shown you in this video is the idea of embedding the idea. So embedding meant the table is on the website permanently. So that, say, when you come down, there's a particular table and it has all the different information. However, you might just want to have a particular page that is hidden in navigation. So when you set up your website, you can have different pages, and some of them can be hidden and some you can have visible. So it just means then that you might have another page that only you see, and you could host the table on that. However, it might be easier if you just wanted to get a little link, and when you click the particular button, it'll bring you to that page, so that effectively, as long as you get your Google Doc link, and when you do get it, you share it so that people can only view and not edit your document, well, then they just get brought to a page where they can just view it. They can't actually change or modify any of the text. So you might just want to do that if rather than embed it, actually just link it to your portfolio, and then it still gives you the control over the document. So they're just some other options that you could have. I mean, the other idea is that you just take from this video the concept that you're going to keep your own Google Doc, and you're going to have that information. But one thing you might take from it is the idea of doing the drop-down menu and how I showed you how to do that. I think that's a very quick way by you to populate a table with your activity, and then add the typology or the domain, and then have a record of that online. So hope those things helped, and that you take something from this that moves you on. I feel it helped me, so hopefully it helps someone else too. Okay, and thanks to all the people in the forums and blogs that I read over the last few days that gave me different tips on how this could be done, and also in our discussion fora as well.